Hello everybody, my name is Hawk Nightwing, the most unapologetic Defender G5 you'll ever meet, and today, I'm reviewing the latest Title episode, Lavarynth. This episode is supposed to be the Halloween episode for this year, and even features the dragons on top of that. Now I gotta say, this was certainly an interesting episode to say the least. Not just in terms of when it takes place, but also in the way we're actually getting world building entire tale, which I didn't expect since most of our episodes tend to take place in our quarterly locations. I know you all want me to get on with it, so without further ado, let's get into it. Before we begin, if you are new here and you are not subscribed to the channel, then what are you waiting for? We analysts appear to be a dying breed at the fandom, as mindless hate videos are all the rage now. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more, then feel free to slam that like button and subscribe to the channel for more amazing funny content just like this. YouTube's algorithm works in mysterious ways. Small contributions like this make a huge difference in helping me grow. This is my review of the 62nd episode, Lavarynth. So the episode starts off with Sunny and her friends flying towards the Dragonlands in the Mirror Stream during a storm. Upon crash landing, they are greeted by the sight of 3 dragons doing a strange dance, to which Misty interprets as their Nightmare Night traditions. The dragons, however, say that their holiday is way better, and invite them to participate in the Lavarynth, which is a series of underground challenges involving the virtues of bravery, wisdom, and creativity. They complete all the challenges using their individual strengths and emerge on the other side, to which the dragons congratulate them and welcome the ponies to their ranks. So, what do I think of the episode? Well, to be honest, I think this episode was a mix of both confusing and entertaining. What do I mean by that? Well, for one thing, how in Luna's name are the dragons out and about now? I'm legitimately confused by this because the last time we checked in on them, some had presumably left the Dragonlands due to Opaline, and some were in hibernation. So why are they acting like nothing is wrong now, and to top it all off, tugging with the main 5 like it's nothing? Not to mention the whole summoning thing they got. When in the timeline does this episode take place? I really want to know because it seems like quite some time has passed between the map to the island of Scaly being revealed and this summoning. Now, I put out a community tab asking the same question, and some of you actually pointed out this could be a result of Hasbro releasing the episode early, when it was instead going to take place after Chapter 6. And you know what? At this point, I can accept that. The chronological time frame of G5 does have this wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey aspect between these two shows, and I think we just have to accept that this is going to be a thing. Maybe it's for the best that Make It Mark is presumably ending then, so we can stop having this is this canon or not debates. Because it is obvious this show is canon to the overall G5 universe, it's just a ridiculous release order that is just confusing everyone. I mean, imagine if I put Forgiven out before Worthless and just confused the heck out of my readers. That's kind of what this feels like. Now, I don't mind it all that much in the long run because it hardly matters, but still, it is confusing. But let's get back to the episode itself. The challenges that the dragons present are actually pretty interesting, and what interests me most is that they speak to each of our ponies individually, meaning that only one of them can complete each challenge, such as Zip with her flight, Misty with the shadows, and everyone with the dragon key. While we're on that, the first challenge was actually kind of brutal. I didn't think MLP staff actually had the guts to introduce the idea that Zip could actually get sliced. You want to know what her challenge reminded me of? This.
Look, you 3 lost, so you guys have to go through my death trap. Yay.
In general, I like how the challenges force the main 5 to rely on their strengths and think on the spot, really showing their ingenuity and teamwork skills. The second challenge with the Shadow Dragons was my favorite part of the episode, as Misty got her time to shine brilliantly. Her whole monologue about standing up to bullies and not being afraid of them was very encouraging, and it's amazing that we have a character like this who can teach that kind of lesson to kids. That was a great scene of she and Izzy working together, and as the episode states, actually shows wisdom on her part. Now, we do get the Sparky humor again in the third challenge, and I think we just have to accept that this is kind of like, you know, a thing with this show, and they're not going to stop. But you know what? This time I actually say kudos because they actually made it useful to the plot, in which his Dragonfire was the thing that got them out. That is actually a good compromise if you want to keep the joke because they think people like it for some reason, but they do it in a way that makes it serve a purpose in the story beyond just a simple gag. To that, I say good job. It's still nowhere near the maturity to Make Your Mark is showing with Sparky right now, but hey, I'll take what I can get, alright? I'm reasonable. Good on Sparky for actually helping the ponies this time around, not simply being used as a cheap joke. Because you know what, guys? I love Sparky and the potential he has, so I appreciate it when he's given something to do that matters. I also think the world building they're introducing in G5 is genuinely fantastic. This is a slap in the face to all who said that this generation doesn't have world building. Boy, were they proven wrong! The more this generation goes on, the more the writers seem to be leaning into the fantasy element that made G4 so great in the first place. And I, for one, am all for that. Yeah, I do love the modern setting, but hey, I'm a sucker for fantasy, alright? Don't judge me. We're now getting dragons in the real, and I think it's only a matter of time before we see the other creatures too. It's clear that they're taking their time in building out this new universe, and I just love the things they're adding to it. The fact that we get to see this initiation test really does wonders to flesh out the dragon culture in its first introduction, which I think is huge in itself. I think that the compromise the writers are introducing, in which they set G5 in a modern day, but still bedazzles us with fantasy, is quite nice. It's something that FIM actually did really well, where despite being a fantasy setting, it still found time to have episodes dealing with real-world issues. This formula is sort of the inverse of that, but it still really works well in my opinion, due to the fact that adding the fantasy really makes the world feel much more expansive and lived in. I do also kind of like the fact that the dragons are generally more favorable towards the ponies too. Yeah, Lava has a sort of garble-like energy to him, but not too much. He's a bit sarcastic, but not antagonistic, which I think is an important distinction. The others, such as Blaze, however, are generally very friendly towards them. It shows that Twilight teachings aren't lost to them, and relations have stuck after all these years, which is really nice to see. Either that or they had to relearn and trust the ponies and secrets of Starlight, who knows. Finally, I wanted to point out the fact that a screenshot from this episode has been leaked for months on promotional material, and no one even knew it came from this episode until we watched it. Just how early are these episodes made? This was on the Tell Your Tale news for Equestria Daily, among other things. I thought it came from a dance party or something, but no, it came from this. And with this episode taking place in the Dragonlands, this screenshot was out to the public before even Chapter 4 released. I just found that quite interesting to mention, as it gets you intrigued as to how early they actually planned this stuff out. But all in all, I call Lavarynth an entertaining episode. The amount of world building present in this episode elevates it by a landslide, and I do think the story taking advantage of our characters' individual strengths is very creative. While I don't see how this qualifies as a Nightmare Night episode by any means, aside from some pumpkin mask iconography, therefore making it unnecessary to release it this early, I still call it a winner. Personally, I want more episodes taking place in other locations like this beyond Equestria, as it just makes the world feel much more fleshed out. It's certainly an episode I'll be watching again. With that being said, this is Hawk Nightwing signing out until next time. Hoof to heart.